All right. Today we're going to be talking about an alternative billing model to the traditional model that we've all been indoctrinated into throughout our careers. In the last episode, we discussed the access to justice gap. And what that showed, what the statistics bear out there, is that only 23% of litigants that need representation are getting said representation. 77% of litigants that need representation aren't getting it. Those numbers are just a symptom of the problem. They're not the actual diagnosis. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Why is this trend going in the wrong direction? And quite simply, it's about money, as it always is. An interesting consideration is which parts of our industry in the legal world are not suffering this same access to justice problem. Let's take a look at it. Personal injury, medical malpractice, regulatory work, government compliance, corporate law. Why? The reason's pretty straightforward. In personal injury and medical malpractice, the client pays nothing up front. It's all based on a contingency. If they get money, great. The attorney takes the money out of their reward. In regulatory work, corporate law, who's paying those legal fees? Multi-million-dollar corporations or government entities. The problem with representation is always going to come down to money. So why aren't people getting representation nowadays? Is it because they can't afford it? They can't afford to pay an attorney? No. It's because we put up barriers that make it impossible for them to afford our services. So the traditional model says large sum of money up front. When your retainer's depleted, large sum of money, please. And then if I do a lot of work in a month, I'm going to send you an invoice for, you guessed it, a large sum of money. That's the problem. Let's take a look at income demographics. If you look at national income demographics, 20% of the population is in the high income bracket. Okay, what's that look like? They have great income, of course, $178,000 or more per year. Average liquid assets, and this is the key metric to all of this. Average liquid assets, cash on hand, of between $4,000 and $40,000. They don't care what your retainer is. They don't care what your refill policy is. They can pay it. They need your services. They can afford however you structure it. What percentage of the population is in high income? 20%. What was the access to justice number again? 23% of people that need lawyers have them. So 20 out of the 23% of people that can afford lawyers are the wealthiest of us. That is not in line with our duty as attorneys. Our job is to find a way to get access to our services for everyone. So, okay, understandably, it's difficult to connect low-income earners with private attorneys. Why? Because low-income earners have $1,000 or less in cash on hand and make $4,000 a month or less. It is very difficult for those people to access our services, and that's why most access to justice initiatives and social programs have to do with that income bracket. 11% of the population's below the poverty line. Most states have court-appointed attorneys, and that representation gets triggered once people fall below that poverty line. So, okay, maybe we're looking out for them and we can get them some representation. But what about the middle class? The middle class makes up 50% of this population. 171 million people fall into this bracket. What do their income numbers look like? What's their financial profile? Well, they have fantastic income on average. $5,000 to $15,000 a month, $52,000 to $178,000 a year. So more like $4,000 to around $15,000 a month. That's fantastic income. Where's the disconnect? $1,000 to $4,000 on average in liquid assets. If as an industry, we're consistently asking for large sums of money, $5,000 up front, another $4,000 when your deposit's depleted, another $2,000 when we decide to do a lot of work for you. You're asking the impossible of people that make good income. And so when we shift our billing to take into account how they can spend their money, how they can afford us, not surprisingly, we see attorneys with 2 to 3 times the amount of clients they're able to bring in because they're reducing that initial access point. They're reducing that initial deposit. Are they discounting their services? I don't want to be a cheap lawyer. No, never actually. The key is to decrease the deposit amount and then put them on a recurring automated payment plan. And attorneys, again, people bristle up and say, if I could show you my accounts receivables, the amount of money that I'm owed, I just can't do that. I challenge those attorneys. How were those payment plans offered? Let me guess. The 1st and 15th of the month or the 30th of the month. Arbitrary dates with arbitrary numbers attached to them. Meanwhile, if you just have a conversation with your client, I want to help you. What's your income capacity? What do your assets look like? I'm going to find a way to make this work for you. What you're going to find is that most people can, in an emergency, afford something within those reasonable guidelines that I spelled out. A $2,000 retainer, a $1,500 retainer. They can often do that once, not over and over and over again. So a solution to this problem, take the traditional model. How do I get those same fees? How do I get that same revenue? You take a deposit that most people can afford, $1,500 to $2,500, and then you say, when's your payday? How about $250 every 2 weeks on your payday? That's the trade-off for me and my firm. I can't have my staff sending you invoices and calling you and chasing you down every 2 weeks for funds. That's not a good use of my time, but I want to be able to help you. So here's the trade-off. I'm going to let you in the door for less, but you have to have consistency with me. There needs to be an automated payment plan on file every 2 weeks. My merchant service, I'm going to look at my email and boom, I'm going to see your deposit there, and we're going to continue on with our representation. Do the math. That's $500 a month. $500 a month is $6,000 a year, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're taking a $2,000 deposit, over the course of a year, you're still going to earn $8,000 on that case. If you're a family law attorney watching this, most custody or divorces are going to take 18 months, 2 years. In an 18-month case, you're looking at $9,000 in recurring revenue. 2-year case, you're looking at $12,000 in recurring revenue plus the deposit. That is absolutely commensurate with what we're used to earning for these cases. And you're not doing so in a way that jeopardizes the full value of the case. What usually happens to us? How does this usually go? I take a retainer of $5,000. I deplete that retainer. I tell the client I need a new one or I need a refill, and they can't do it. So you have to withdraw from the case. You lose the future value of the case. The client loses their representation. The court inherits a pro se litigant. All because we have a resistance to changing how we bill our clients. We've been doing this for 150 years. And I challenge anyone out there, show me one other industry that still bills clients in this way. There aren't any. If you're going to buy an automobile, it doesn't matter if you're buying a Porsche or a Lamborghini or a Pinto. You put money down and then you make regular monthly payments on that expense. That is how we afford all high cost items in this country. And the only industry not on board and not evolving to keep up with that necessity to pay things off in small chunks is ours. A highly educated group of doctors, people with doctorate degrees, not acknowledging this critical flaw in our current model. So firms that are willing to evolve and adjust their practice to tap into how regular everyday people live and get paid and spend their income, those firms are seeing double, triple the amount of revenue. Those firms, some of them are making $500,000 a month off of clients that all other lawyers say don't have money. I have news for you. 75% of this country has money. They have the resources to afford our services. We're only helping 20% of those people, and it's the most wealthy of us. We can do better. We can adjust our practices and evolve to meet these people where they need help. And I'm talking about doubling and tripling your revenue. I'm talking about never discounting your services. You can earn the same fees at an exponentially higher rate, double, triple, whatever your current client base and revenue, just by adjusting how you collect your money. Again, don't take less money, just take your money in a way that is much more accessible to your average person. We're going to talk a lot more about how we can do that on a ground level. The tools that you need in your firm, the strategies and resources that you need to be able to implement this model. But this is the crux of how we're going to change this industry and actually meet our mandate as educated professionals to help your average everyday person. We're going to change the way we bill them to make it affordable. I'm curious to know how your firm is billing clients and what creative methods you're using to increase your client base and your revenue. Please let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video.